Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the next part at last of the Mercury 4 build. I've been wondering how I'm going to finish the fuselage, and it's going to be painted, but it was going to be painted. It might still be painted, but this beautiful heavyweight red tissue has come into my possession, and I've got enough here to cover the fuselage. And just look at it, it's gorgeous. Absolutely, it's like a red carpet of desire. So what I plan to do is to cover it in this red tissue, and who knows, I might not even have to put paint over the top if I make a reasonable job of it. And it is tissue, and it is so authentic, isn't it? So I'm really happy to have obtained this. Could try putting it on with PVA. So I'm going to do a little experiment and see how I get on. Watered down PVA, and hopefully it's going to look really nice, and then I can put dope over the top of it, or some sort of finish varnishy type stuff. Maybe the same varnish I put on the fuselage, ROM seal. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting first, and we'll see how it comes out. Really excited to do this. Haven't touched the wings yet. They're still waiting for it was going to be next, but excuse me, but I've just got this tissue and I really want to have a go at doing that. So the wings can wait, they're not going anywhere. And there in the background is the fin and rudder, which may end up tissued actually. We'll see. Red, because that's going to be the same red as the fuselage, and then the tail and wings will be possibly another colour, because I haven't got enough tissue. And it made me wonder, should I tissue the whole lot? I know, Mark Robinson, you'd be all for that. So well, we'll see how we get on. I'd have to put some doculum under it, as Mark showed us how to do on one of his videos back along on the Tomboy Senior build. So yeah, it's all good stuff. I'm going to do this little bit of experimenting, and then I'll come back to you all. Here's an old wing I'm practicing on. I've put on two patches. One I damped first. This one isn't a damped one. It's getting a bit... My choice is to spray the whole fuselage, say with grey primer and then red, and then tissue it. Or, I mean, the tissue will add a lot of strength as well to it, you see. Or it might be nice just to see the planking of the fuselage through it. So I might just go with a fizz over with red, just to take the worst off of the colour of the polyfiller, whatever it is, filler, and then tissue it. Before I tissue it, guys, I just thought I'd better just get the gaps right around the hatch. And while I was there, I've made the hatch retention method. So I've got a magnet there at the back, magnet just here on the front. I've got some little supports there, and there. And what happens is, dowel at the front, it just goes under and snaps into position. And then to remove it, just press there, and it rocks, because a magnet you can't pull off, but you can slide it off really quite easily. So that's how it's going to come off. Quite pleased with that. I put the details of the motor under there as well in the ESC, so I can now tissue all around, and it will hold itself in place. Okay, it's ready to be sprayed. I wanted to keep the spray out the interior a bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to paint in there or keep it as wood, but either way I've got the option if I keep it clear. Done the tail wheel, so we're all ready to go, all ready to spray. Well, that's red, isn't it, guys? What I've done, I've been out to the shed and I've sprayed it this sort of base red as a prelude to tissue in it with red tissue. The reason I've sprayed it first instead of tissuing it first is because I wanted to have a tissue finish if I can, and also it shows up any imperfections, of which are very, very few. Obviously you can see the planking, which is a nice sort of touch, but I want to try and get the tissue finish. But by spraying it red, it's sort of disguised, if you like, some of the filler that's on it. So I'm gonna pull off all the masking now, get it out of the way. So I'm not sure yet how I'm going to finish the inside. As I said earlier, I might just paint the edges, maybe matte black. That's cool. I may leave it on the screen or not. Let the paint harden off a little bit more, probably. So I'll leave it there for a minute. I've got the tail wheel just to take off. Right, come on, nearly off. Nothing worse than overspray, is there, on things like wheels. So what's next? Good question. What I've got here, I've got to move you back a bit really, haven't I? What I've got here is, I put sellotape in here to stop it sticking. So I want to cover it with tissue, do you, Cliff? Yes, please. Well, I'm going to start with the underneath, or shall I start with the sides and see how far I can get? It's like tissue covering a giant Grillo's model, isn't it? Let me look at the tissue here. The tissue is here. I kind of like ironed it a little bit just to get out some of the serious creases. I can have a join under the wing and under the tail plane, but I'm hoping I can sort of disguise the join somewhat. I don't want to butt join it. I can have a separate piece along here and down there. What we normally do with tissue is to give it a ripped edge, or what I do anyway, and then the grain of the tissue can go over the grain of the other piece next to it. But this is going to be basically the finished surface, so I want to try and make it as invisible as possible. If I sand it after it's dry, it'll blend it a bit, but then I don't want it to go all the way through to the bodywork, so I'll have to be just careful. So if I do the bottom first, I can sort of overlap the top bit over. I'm going to do the cowl last. Now I've got my hand in then. Okay, so what I've done, I've mixed up some PVA glue, about 50-50. I've just got a scrap of tissue here. I thought I'd just start there, look, like that. It's got a couple of different curves in it. Should be interesting, so let's just give it a go. I'm going to have the rough side of the tissue downmost. So I'm going to damp the tissue, because damping the tissue will help it to soak up the PVA and also help it to conform to the fuselage. It'll also help the PVA glue to soak through the tissue. But I think I'm just going to damp the one side, the side nearest the fuselage. Otherwise it might make it just too damp and cause it to get it about equal both sides, cause it to sort of ruckle up a bit. I might need to, we'll see how it goes down. As I haven't put any glue down yet, I can sort of work it a little bit. Wet tissue gets very easy to rip, so be very careful, don't go too far. That bit there. Let's get some glue on it. Shall we see what happens? So I've actually used ordinary PVA here, so let's see how it goes on. Soaking in nicely. In the old days I'd have used dope to do this, and the thing with dope is, apart from the lovely smell, is it doesn't actually stick that well like PVA will, insofar as you're going down and staying down. wrinkle there. That, can I cheat that out a bit? Just sort of working on techniques here. This will cover up all the plank joins in the plank. You might see the odd line, but it'll cover up anything obvious, make it look more solid. I did rather like the planking, but if there hadn't been quite so much polyfillo on it, some of which was put on by me, I might have been tempted just to sort of varnish it and leave the plank invisible, which would have looked pretty amazing. Okay, let's just dab that a little bit a minute. Got some running down the sides. Bit my finger. That's not too bad. I'll work those wrinkles. They're actually not wrinkles, it's doubled up on itself, but that will sand out and leave hopefully the layer of tissue underneath, so it doesn't look too bad. Can't work it, overwork it, that's the thing. Okay, this side actually is better than the side that you guys can see. Right, okay, let's show you that. I mean, that looks reasonably uniform. It's hard to tell at the moment because it's wet, of course, so we've got to let that dry out. And then we can, what I envisage is I'll have to just gently sand these wrinkles out, and I plan to give it a coat of something clear on the top, either what I put on the fuselage, the Ron Seal varnish, which is probably what I will use, or yeah, the Ron Seal varnish. But like anything like this, you want to test it on a small area just in case it reacts to the paint or something like that, so always test it on a little bit. Where's my glue? There it is. So let's continue down the fuselage. This bit should go on quite easily because I didn't damp it first. See, that's what happens when you're chatting away. Damp it, just help it conform. Help it to soak up the glue. What I'll do, guys, I'll just sort of carry on doing this, working my way around, and then of course I'm going to have to let it dry off for a couple of days. Then I can give it a very light sanding on the joints, and I'm hoping it's going to look pretty uniform all the way along, and then I can just give it a couple of coats of something to seal it in and strengthen it up. Hopefully I'll just have a nice red fuselage. I am going ahead of myself a little bit because I haven't started on the wings yet. But I've taken a leaf out of Mark Croucher's book, a video anyway. I don't know if you've watched Mark Croucher, but he's just finished building an SE5A, and he built the fuselage completely before he started the wings, which is something I've never done before. So I'm copying your example there, Mark. As I said though, I'll carry on with this. You hit the like button, because we like likes. YouTube does anyway, likes, and it helps to show the video to more people, and the more people that see this fantastic hobby, the more chance that they'll get into it and keep it alive. We are going through hard times at the moment, aren't we? I think that's quite nice. I quite like that. It's gone on nice, looks nice, and I can turn it now and work on the side and see how we get on. We'll stop there, guys, for you, and I'll carry on doing the tissuing, which is good fun, and I'll see you when I've got it tissued up and maybe dry, maybe give it a little sand on the joints, and we're ready to start putting on some surface finish. Great stuff. Cheers, guys. The tissuing is complete. It's still drying. Just done the front edge and the top and what have you. Let's say the seams hopefully will sand out and be less visible. So that was a marathon job. Just got to trim the bit inside the window there, and then I'm going to still got to do the cowling. That's going to be fun. In fact, let's just sit it on for a bit of fun. Haven't done it yet. My theory was to do the aeroplane and then come back and do the cowling, sort of get my hand in with the tissuing. So that's, and it's not rocking now. It's rocking just slightly, but that's okay. It'll disappear. So there we are. That's looking really tidy, really tidy. So it's going pretty well, guys. I've just tissued the cowling, tucked it in and around. I've got some what do you call them, overlaps there, which I'm hoping will sand off and go flush, so we'll see. So that's that one done and drying. I'm just doing the side window that pops off. Okay, let that dry. What I'm going to do now is to take a look at the fin and rudder, which I think I will tissue cover. But before I do that, I want to paint it red, spray it red, otherwise it's going to be a little bit lighter than the fuselage. And also, if I'm going to tissue it, I'm going to put on some, I'll put cling film on, which I've used before. Doculum is the thing to use, but I don't quite need, was it 100 meters or 50 meters or whatever, just for this job. So I'll just use the cling film, stick it on with spray adhesive. But first thing is to spray it red, then I can get on with that. So see you in a minute. Cliff, you've got red balsa wood. Yeah. I'm going to cover the fin and rudder with tissue and cling film. I want all the balsa wood to be the same colour. I don't want the tissue to look brighter wood on the flying surfaces than the fuselage. So hence, if I do it all the same colour, base coat, then it'll all look the same when it's done. The tailplane, that's a different matter, because it's going to be, actually it's not. The tailplane, I might have to do something similar, because it's new balsa wood compared to really old wood for the wings. I'm going to have to probably do the same treatment, and that is to spray all the balsa wood before I finish it with my chosen fabric. I thought I was recording doing that, but I forgot to press record. So what I've done on the fin, then I've sprayed it red and I've covered it in cling film, and then I'm going to tissue it. Still got the rudder to do. I've put some Vaseline on the hinges. I'm fitting those first. I've tissued inside the edge. I think I've mentioned that. Doesn't pay to rip it off and put it on again, really. Stretch it a bit. Cut it off. I'll get the tissue out in a minute. See you back when I got the tissue out. Oops. Just going to make the tissue slightly more porous than it is. Till the glue soaks through the tissue, it's not going to stick much. Soaking through there. Stick it to that bottom bit of wood. Lovely. I think I might just let that dry a little bit, guys, before I work a little bit on the other side and fin. So so we'll come back to it later. Cheers. Okie dokie, guys. I'm going to draw the video to a close, I think. I think this one was supposed to be the wings, but never mind. So I've sat the tail in place. So the fin is covered, the rudder's covered, the fuselage is tissued. And looking mighty long, actually. Quite pleased with the way it's turned out. Very pleased, actually. This just needs a final coat of something clear to finish it off. The varnish would be ideal, a couple of coats of that. And then I can cover the tail. Still got to buy the finish. But from this angle, look at the length of it. It looks huge. Well, it is huge. So yeah, there we are. Come back for the next video. I'm probably going to bend the undercarriage up yet. That'll be an interesting little job. And computer booting up, and yeah, and that'll be good. But I've got these. I haven't shown you these. I picked these up the other day. They're plastic, but they look about the right size. And they'll take something like a 3-inch wheel, I guess. Obviously they're in 2 halves. Really happy with those. They're going to set it off fantastic. Wheel spats or pants, I think. Yeah, really pleased with those. So got those to fit onto the undercarriage, and I've got some pin hinges to put in here as well instead of these nylon things. And then I can start mounting the radio gear in the back end at least, and get the motor in. So yeah, thanks very much for following along on this. It's been a fantastic build. That there, look, is a little plan I've downloaded. I'm just going to knock that one up just for a bit of fun. That's another video. That'll be a surprise for you. So there we are, looking very smart, very happy with that. And give the video a thumbs up as usual if you wouldn't mind, helps. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.